God came to us to seek and to save that which was lost. He raised a man from among us. He, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, laid the foundation. What I'm doing is something that comes from him through me, and the thing that he uses in me to do the work is my faith in him and the word that he taught. To produce men and women who wanted to clean up their life and build an independent nation for the glory of God.
Greetings. This is your brother Willie Muhammad with I Have a Testimony on National Network View. Today, our special guest is Brother Donald Muhammad. He's the student minister of Muhammad Mosque number 28 in the city of St. Louis, Missouri. He's one of my mentors in the Nation of Islam, and he's a great helper to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So greetings to you, my brother, and thank you for being accepting our invitation to be a guest on our show.
Yes, Brother Willie, thank you, and walaikum salam, my brother, and thank you so much for having me on. I'm very honored by the invitation. Thank you so much.
It is all ours, my brother. So we'll get straight to it. Can you share with the listening and the viewing audience, how did you first become introduced to the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
Well, that is a long story and a blessed one as well. Of course, back in the early 70s, I had the opportunity to listen to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad on the radio, and also the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. But it was through the nursing of Muhammad Speaks that I really became interested. And also, I ordered all of the books of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad from the Final Call. And I was able to read all of them in those days. But I joined the Muhammad Mosque 28 here at that time, which was located 1434 North Grand. That was after the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had left. But in the meantime, I considered myself a Muslim before then. But that was a time that I first met Brother Akbar. He became the minister here in St. Louis and has been a great mentor to me even down to today. And I first saw the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the spring of 1975. And I can remember his subject matter that evening. It was wise men change often, but a fool will not. I never will forget it. He said, wise men make many changes, but a fool would just keep doing the same thing over and over again. And then, I became a follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. All praises due to Allah. But now going into the new time dispensation, when the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was rebuilding the Nation of Islam, I can recall in the spring of 1975, Minister Farrakhan came to St. Louis to meet with Brother Akbar, and I just happened to be in his office that day when the minister drove down by himself and to meet with Brother Akbar, and he was in an office, Brother Akbar's office, stating how he would rebuild the Nation of Islam. And of course, I was on board from that moment in time because, I noticed that I knew that things had changed at Muhammad Mosque number 28, and the Department of Captaincy was removed on both brothers and the sisters side, and things was happening, and the teachings had kind of went away, and and I was so impressed with the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I was so happy that the minister said he would rebuild the work of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And guess what, my brothers and sisters that's on the call, he has done that. All praises is due to Allah. As Minister Abdul Rahman Muhammad said on a tour of the nation, he called him Farrakhan the Faithful. That out of all of the ministers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Minister Farrakhan was the most faithful. So in the early 70s, I considered myself a Muslim, but I came into the nation in 1975.
Specifically about the content that you found in Muhammad speaks that intrigued you and caught your attention?
Well, during that time, of course, I was in graduate school at that time, Brother Willie, and I was very interested in what was going on in Africa and different places like that. And Muhammad Speaks was the only black paper that carried anything about independence of Africa and things like that. And then coupled with the fact that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was teaching about our own independence and doing something for self. And that really related to me. In fact, being born in Mississippi in a segregated time, we were always taught to do something for ourselves. We were always taught not to put yourself on others if they didn't want you to be there. So I grew up with that understanding of independence, and I always thought that we would be better off if we would come together as a people.
It's very interesting. And how did we know you're now the student minister? How did that come about?
Oh, my brother. I first got into the ministry. That was in 1978. It was in 1978. Well, let me back up a little bit. When Minister Farrakhan came to St. Louis in the spring of 1976 and said he would rebuild the nation, we started in the basement of Brother Akbar's house. And we began to work and invite people, a study group, so to speak. I just recently found out in the last year that there was another group here in the city of St. Louis that we didn't know about. So that was the methodology of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. It was after that point in time that he would bring all of us really together. But I remember once Brother Akbar had left St. Louis to go to be with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and Minister Akbar asked me to open up for another brother. And from that point on, I have been in the ministry. Of course, I've held positions as captain in the nation, but other than that, I've always been a student minister, and I can attribute that to Brother Akbar, trying me in that position to help him. But and it was Brother Akbar that kept the minister in front of us. I mean, he is a great helper, still is a great helper of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And, he kept us on point, kept lifting the minister up, even at a time when we had not yet settled in faith yet. Okay. So it was in 1985 that I was sent out to build a mosque. And before then, I had went to Kansas City, Missouri to start a study group and start Kansas City on its way. And then by the time I got back, in 1985, I was appointed to become a minister in St. Louis. But due to unfortunate circumstances, the minister shut me down and sent me back to East St. Louis. So East St. Louis, Illinois was the first mosque in the rebuilding of the Nation of Islam. And then I learned later that, instead of Minister Farrakhan building a mosque in St. Louis, he went to East St. Louis, Illinois. Instead of Los Angeles, Compton, California, instead of New York, New Jersey, and he also worked the South. That was a very critical time in the rebuilding of the Nation of Islam.
So you're saying that the first mosque established after in the rebuilding was the mosque that's currently in East St. Louis?
Sir. 28B,
Wow.
the first mosque in the rebuilding. And basically what happened was every time the minister would come to St. Louis, he would tell me, he said, brother, my father didn't build no mosque in East St. Louis. He built one in St. Louis. And I never forgot that, brother. And as time went on, I got permission to move to St. Louis. And we've been here ever since. And East St. Louis still exists. And we was able to really get a mosque and representative of him in 2010. Of course, you have visited our mosque, Brother Will, and I thank Allah for you, my brother.
Praise be to Allah. And I thank you for those invites. And I've enjoyed my time there and have just been inspired by what I see with the believers, the progressive things that you all are doing, and just the things that you share with me. And while we're talking about sharing, so over the years, has there been any guidance that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan shared with you regarding being a student minister that you can share with those who are listening and watching?
Oh, absolutely, brother. The one that sticks out in my mind when he came to St. Louis, there's many guidance, brother. I mean, the one that sticks out in my mind now, when he came to St. Louis in May of 2010, he came to dedicate our new mosque. And that morning before he got to the mosque, he gave me the instructions. He said, brother, go after the little man. He said, when you get the little man, the big man comes, and I never have forgotten that. And that represents the foundation of our nation by going after our people. So what I took that as, he was telling us, continue to go after our people. And when you go after our people, then Allah will continue to bless us to build the not just a mosque, but you will build the city. Because he didn't send us to be over a mosque, he sent us to be over a city. And I never have forgotten that.
And what you say you said that there were many things that he shared. What was something else that you can share?
Well, in recent times, he told me that, brother, of course, Brother Willie, I'm one of the senior ministers, student ministers in the nation. I'm 76 years old. I'll be 77 on my next birthday. And I thank Allah for my health and strength at this time. And I thank Allah, he has blessed me and my family to avoid the COVID. And I've been trying to be as obedient as I possibly can. And that is to stay indoors, stay in my house. But, he told me to really begin to mentor younger brothers to go on the rostrum. And that's what I have done, and I think that's very key because, I mean, at my age, I can't be there forever. So I would be negligent of my duty if I didn't prepare the younger believers to come behind me. So that's very, very, very important to me. Very good information.
Definitely very good. And I think in preparing for this interview, I read something that said like you've been for 30 years, right? And you talked about you being one of the senior ministers in our ministry class. What has been some of the most valuable lessons that you have learned as it relates to serving in that capacity?
Brother, what I have learned is that one of the main things that I have learned, of course, everything that has been taught from day one, we didn't all understand like we understand now. And but faith without works is dead. If you have the faith and the things that you don't understand, you just keep working, and then Allah will come back and reveal those things to you and give you the understanding. We didn't know in the very beginning who really Honorable Elijah Muhammad was. I mean, but we continued to work and had faith until the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan revealed who he was. We didn't know exactly who Minister Farrakhan was until at a certain time, all of that came out. We didn't know, we heard that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was 75% of scripture. But we didn't have a true understanding of it until recent times. And I thank Allah for that. We continue to thank Allah for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. We didn't know that he would be the seal of the revelations. We didn't know that he would be the one that would walk us out of scripture. That means the fulfillment of the scriptures that had already been written. We didn't have an idea of the time that we're living in right now with this pandemic that is going on and the fulfillment of scripture, especially Isaiah 26:20, telling us to stay in our homes and stay in our shelters until the pandemic is over. All of these things mean a whole lot to us now, and I can reflect back now and the way Minister Farrakhan has guided us. I mean, every word that he has said to us has come true. Everything that Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught, it has come true. So that means that you don't have to know everything before you come into the Nation of Islam. But at the same time, God will show us at a particular time that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has been faithful and he has guided us on the right path. Alhamdulillah.
You too, Allah, definitely. And as I talk now, I often mention this to you. One of the many great skills and talents that I've come to notice about you that you have is your wealth of knowledge as it relates to engaging and holding political officials accountable. Can you talk about how did you become so astute in that arena?
Well, I wouldn't consider it astute. It's just I've been around a long time, Brother Willie. I wouldn't call it being astute, But what I would say is that over the years in dealing with politics, you know, when you're a member of the Nation of Islam, especially when you're a student minister, politicians always in the early days come to you, they need help, you know, in politics. And it was a gentleman by the name of Attorney Edward Walton who actually showed me the understanding of how politics work. And we go back to 1995, the political aspect that Minister Farrakhan, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, was representing was local. You know, I'm not that involved with national politics, but I'm concerned with where the mosque is, where the believers live. And I feel that we should take over the political system where we live. Because, you know, in Message to the Black Man, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said we need Muslim politicians. And I have tried to mentor several Muslim brothers that's in the Nation of Islam in the field of politics, because if we're going to make our community a decent and safe place to live, we must know where the taxpayers' money is and how that money should be used in relationship to uplifting our community and helping our people as it relates to contractual agreements. You know, that's Black folks' money that we spend in our own community that goes into government. So if we have good Muslim politicians or good politicians, period, then they would be able to direct that money back to the community to make it a decent and safe place to live. But oftentimes I find even today here in the city of St. Louis, most Black folks run for political office for jobs. They don't run to rule, okay? And that's because oftentimes they are so afraid of the powers that be.
And I'm glad that you mentioned Message to the Black Man and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's words, because I can imagine that there may be a small few who may see this broadcast and they might talk about, he's asking about politics. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad didn't want us involved in politics. And based upon their understanding of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's words, they may have that view. But what can you share with us more? You touched on it in regards to our position as it relates to politics, as it relates to politicians, because you are also in a city where the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan came there and participated in a convention called the Convention of the Oppressed that dealt with agendas, political agendas and things. Can you talk about that?
Yes, sir. And it almost didn't happen. But the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan words went out about a year earlier and said he wanted to have a convention of the oppressed, a Black political convention. And I can remember we was all scrambling to make that happen in the ball stadium in St. Louis, but it happened. I believe it was over 25,000 people there, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan came. And he spoke in terms of our political agenda and what we should be doing politically. But we must understand, Brother Willie, that politics is only one institution within our community. And I think that the most important institution in our community is the spiritual part, or religion, for lack of a better word, that we should be putting forth. And I think out of that institution of religion, it comes the first work, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has taught us, the wake-up message. Nothing is happening on a conscious level until our people are awakened politically, socially, and economically and politically. So therefore, therefore, all of these things should be taking place at the same time, awaken economically, because we have given up economically, in my humble opinion, even our people with money who could create the businesses that could provide services to our community. Now, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan at another time went around the country with a subject matter, politics without economics, a symbol without substance. And when you have politics and no economics, it's just symbol without substance. You know, if you have economics without politics, it means that we don't know how to fit all of these in and organize the two together. So therefore, we are victims to those that are in power. And also we are victims to our own people who just want to be in office and just say they're in office and parade around Black folks as if they are somebody, which we are somebody, but without having the effectiveness to affect a policy as it relates to our community.
Well said. And you live in the city of St. Louis, and I found this out when I actually came there. You showed me that Ferguson is like kind of like a little, it's like a little town, a little city right next to St. Louis, a neighborhood or something to that degree. You can explain it. But being there, you know, the death of our brother Michael Brown really sparked activism all throughout America. And it really gave even more steam to the Black Lives Matter movement. But people are not aware of the role that the Nation of Islam played in helping to contribute to the fight for justice, helping the family during the uprising. Can you talk about the role of the mosque there during that time?
Yes, sir. Actually, you know, actually, my brother, the death of Michael Brown, or the unjust killing of him, you know, did a whole lot, not only in St. Louis, but throughout the country. But just let me explain the dynamics and the geographics of St. Louis. St. Louis is a city within itself. A city that's within itself has its own county, so to speak. And surrounding St. Louis is what we call St. Louis County. And it has many, many municipalities within St. Louis County, but it's all part of the St. Louis metropolitan area. So Ferguson is really just maybe blocks from the mosque within the city of St. Louis. Okay, you just drive from the mosque right into on the same streets, you know, which is West Florissant. You run into Ferguson. So when people leave St. Louis and go out of town, they don't say I'm from Ferguson. They don't say I'm from Wellston and places like that, or Berkeley. They just say I'm from St. Louis. Okay, to keep down the confusion. But what happened when the Mike Brown protests started, my family and I was on our way to Branson, Missouri on vacation. But I got everything but a vacation, because on the way there, I started receiving calls from community leaders. And I began to help them to strategize things that should be done. Now, by the time I got back home, which was a Saturday, I got in my car and drove directly to Chicago to see the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And on my way back, I personally went to the protest. And as I pulled in my car, I saw a crowd of youth coming back. And I said, "What is going on?" And they said, "Brother Minister, go home." And they had started throwing tear gas. But the Sunday, when the real protest started, the FOI was out there. But when the tearing up things and all of that took place, I ordered the FOI to go home. But in the meantime, all of these different groups and organizations that were involved, they would hold their meetings at Muhammad Mosque number 28. We had room there at one time. It was 2 and 3 groups at Muhammad Mosque 28 using their strategies in order to go back with the protests. And I was really kind of like a mentor to them. Okay, I mean, I went out, I believe, 3 times in the protest, but I wasn't out there every day like everybody else. At my age, I just wasn't out there like that. But quite a few of the brothers was out there, you know, and they wasn't in bow ties and anything, suits and bow ties. But they were there. And I know the editor of the Final Call, Brother Richard, was there, and he had several brothers securing him while the protest was actually going on.
Thank you for that history, because, you know, like I know they're quick to try to write us out of history, but it's good to know, and we have it documented even more, that you open up the mosque for those groups that were out there strategizing and protesting and things like that. So that's very good history. And you mentioned, now that you mentioned the mosque and you talked about it earlier, we know that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan came there and dedicated the beautiful mosque. And for those who are watching, let me tell you, there's a huge mosque when you get an inside, downstairs, all type of stuff. It's a very, 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 very beautiful. So can you talk about just how that all came about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan accepting the invitation to come and dedicate the mosque, and just the overall experience?
Yeah, so let me say this before I answer that, Brother Willie, please.
Yes, sir.
You know, out of the Ferguson protest, and of course, there was another protest in the city of St. Louis the Stockley case, this police officer shot another black man in the city of St. Louis. But out of these protests in St. Louis became, out of that, quite a few politicians were born out of that. And the most recent one is Congresswoman Cora Bush, who is a good friend of mine. She defeated a really an established politician here in St. Louis, Congressman Clay, which is an institution here in the city of St. Louis, in the St. Louis metropolitan area. Also, a brother named Bruce Franks became a state rep. Another brother by the name of Brother Rasheem, he's a state rep now, and also a councilman. Also, our own brother John Muhammad, who is an alderman, became an alderman in the city of St. Louis. So I remember at a meeting at New Northside Baptist Church, I stood up and I told them, I said, out of this protest, it should be other avenues of approach that people should be taking. And I say economics, politics, and things like that. And some of them follow suit. And I'm so honored and happy that I can see my brothers and sisters taking part in that. And also, now, what was the second question?
The second question was about when the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan came there and dedicated the mosque. So how did you all go about getting him, extending the invitation to do so? Just talk about the whole overall experience and any other words that he shared to you all about that moment. Absolutely,
my brother. A letter went out to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and he came to dedicate the mosque. When I was telling you about that morning, that was the weekend that he told me and told us to go after the little man. And when you get the little man, the big man will come. But one of the things that stood out in the minister's lecture was the point that he said, this is not just a house for the believers, this is a house for the community. And I never have forgotten about that. And even down to this day, before we shut down in March, different groups and organizations would come to the mosque to have their various community meetings. And we've had even religious organization, Christian organization to come to have meetings in our conference room. And I try to develop relationships with people throughout the city of St. Louis, because you never know how that thing may work. And we try to serve the community the best way that we know how. But there's so much more that we can do, and there's so much more that we will do. And I often tell the believers now, we cannot go back the way we came out. We must go back with a higher fervor and a higher mission to carry out the work of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Beautiful, man. See, that's one of the many reasons why I admire you, man. I love your spirit, love your progressive thinking, and just your open-mindedness. And so when we talk about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, what would you say has been one or some of the biggest impacts that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has had on you personally?
What comes to mind, Brother Willie, is that he has been patient with me. Out of all the mistakes I have made, he never threw me away. And I thank Allah for that. You talking about a man that is patient. You talk about a man that is nurturing. You talk about a man that has faith. And the thing about it is that he has always lifted me up. And even the picture that you are showing now, when I introduced him, he said, "Go ahead, preacher." So, I mean, there's just so many things that I could say about the minister, but his patience with me, even though when he have removed me from post. See, everybody don't know this. I mean, this wasn't it was a struggle, brother. I mean, I got removed from the ministry. I got removed as a captain, but he never threw me away. But then he always came. When the last time he came back and put me on post was in, I believe, 1986 straight. And I have been the student minister ever since. But now, the power of my mentor, Brother Akbar, always had the notion in my own mind that he would come back and take the mosque back. But I realized at a certain point in time that wasn't going to happen, And I often think about, what did the minister see in me? And I'm realizing now that I guess I'm the one that's going to keep the mosque open by Allah's help during this turbulent time that we are going through right now.
Beautiful. You mentioned our brother Akbar, several times. How can you share some more about just the impact and the lessons that you've learned from him?
In one word, work. You know, Brother Akbar cannot stand nobody to be around him that wasn't doing anything. He had a habit of saying, if a brother passed by him in the mouth, he said, "Brother, where you going?" And if he didn't give an answer, Akbar would give him a job to do, brother. So I learned the work habit from Brother Akbar, which I've always been a hard worker myself, but it was work in the cause of Islam. It was work in helping the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And that's one of the things, that's why I call him my mentor, in the Nation of Islam, because I never seen a man like Brother Akbar, and until the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan came around and started rebuilding the Nation of Islam, and how he worked, brother. I've been there, brother, even before there was a FOI and an MGT. I can recall the minister coming to St. Louis by himself, get off the plane, and I would take him to his speaking engagement at SIU Evansville and that's Southern Illinois University, Carbondale, and places like that. I can recall he would always say after he got through speaking, he said, he would go over the things that he had said. He said, "I don't believe I said that. Oh my goodness," And I would be sitting there listening. I didn't understand, but once I heard him say, when I'm speaking, brother, he said, "I'm going to light up like a light bulb. Know that when that happened, that's not me. That's the Allah and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad speaking through me." So he been true and dedicated to the work of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad by the help of Almighty God. I know this, and I bear witness of this, and I bear witness of him and the great work that he has done, because he said he would rebuild the work of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad when he didn't have nothing. So out of that nothingness, he created something by Allah's help. And look at the Nation of Islam right today. All holy praise is due to Allah.
Praise be to Allah. You mentioned in your earlier response how you have been removed and from several positions. And we know within our nation that sometimes people being relieved from their responsibility can be a great challenge, and not everybody makes that journey back. What was it that allowed you not to fall victim to that type of response where you get removed from a post and you just give up on the nation and etc.?
Brother, Allah has blessed me to be able to look at the bigger picture. It's more than me in my position that I have. We're looking at a nation. I think it was my humility, because really in truth, I had no other place to go, and I deserved to be removed, brother. I messed up, so I had to pay for that. But at the same time, the minister can admonish you, and the thing about it, you look at it was a blessing that I got removed, because I messed up. I didn't pay attention to details. I was disobedient and all of these things. So I learned from those things, Brother Willis. So I didn't have no other place to go. When I got removed as captain, I came right back and got in the ranks, brother, until I was given another assignment. When I got removed as student minister, I came back. I got in the ranks. I didn't have no other place to go. I didn't look at myself like that. I looked at myself as being a humble servant, and whatever the minister wanted, whatever he needed me to do, I was willing to do it. And I was shocked. In 1986, he called me to a national laborers meeting, and at the end of the laborers meeting, he called me up, and he said, "Brother Donald." I said, "Yes, sir, brother minister." I ran up. You run up, you salute the minister, and he said, "Can you follow instructions?" Because I must have had a little tinge. I was disobedient, I said, "Yes, sir, brother minister." He said, "You qualified. This is the new minister of Muhammad Mosque number 28, St. Louis, Missouri." And I've been going ever since, brother. All praises due to Allah.
Wow, that's beautiful, man. And now you said that when the whole incident took place with Mike Brown and you were on your way to a vacation, and then on your way back, you drove to Chicago to meet with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Was that to get guidance about what was going on in Ferguson, or was just
no, sir, brother. It was the mosque meeting. The minister was speaking at Mosque Mariam that Sunday, and I wanted to make that. During the whole time that I was in Branson, I mean, I was on the phone most of the time. I mean, my family was on vacation without me because I stayed on the phone. As a matter of fact, I would be on the phone with Brother Akbar, letting them know who was coming in and the press conference here, the press conference there. And everybody was letting me know the main events that was really taking place. And I wanted to inform Brother Akbar all of these things that were taking place so he could be there in representing the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
And that could be a very trying thing. Here you work hard because you say you come up under Brother Akbar and you're always working, and now you're on your way to a vacation. You get a call. Sometimes our families won't handle that right. How have you worked to achieve a balance to the best of your ability between mosque and family life?
Well, Brother Willie, I really do thank Allah for my wife. She understands me. She's been kind of like my time clock. If she knows I have to be somewhere at a certain point in time, she always have been a excellent reminder. Don't you have to go here? Don't you have to go there? Or you going to the mosque today? Were you running a little late, aren't you? And then that would be my stimulus to really get out and do what I have to do. And but I thank her because she was able to raise my daughters in the proper way, even in my absence, But I thank Allah for my entire family, brother, and not only my personal family, but I thank Allah for the family of believers that are here in the city of St. Louis because they have been so helpful and so supportive for me.
Praise be to Allah. And as we get this one more question, I always ask, I want you to think about this. And if there are any stories you can share that relates to your response, this will be good. The title of this podcast is I Have a Testimony. And we want to give the guests that come on the opportunity to testify about this magnificent man that we have in our midst, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So if you were asked, Brother Donald, where you stood before the world, or you were at the rostrum in Mosque Mariam, and you were asked to testify about 3 qualities of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, what would those 3 qualities be and why?
Oh, my brother. When I look at the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I look at him as a master man of faith, from my vantage point, I remember when we didn't have anything and how he has continually worked and developed the Nation of Islam and grown the Nation of Islam to this point. And the believers, especially national believers that we have in the Nation of Islam. I mean, brother, let's take our hat off to Brother Ishmael. I mean, Student Minister Ishmael Muhammad. I mean, he is bringing some beautiful teachings out in this hour right now. So we thank Allah, and I love him so much. And then I would say guidance. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, every time he opened his mouth, he's giving guidance. And when he speaks, it's just like E.F. Hutton, you should be listening. Everybody should be listening. And also, what a man to stand before the powers of the world and talk the way he talks, okay? And he has systematically guided us. He's a guide, brother. He is a guide. He has systematically guided us without any hurt, harm, or danger up to this point in time. He has guided us through letting us know that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is alive and well. We didn't understand that at first when he said that, but he continually was patient with us, and he developed us into that knowledge that he is alive, and we believe that he's alive. We know he's alive now. And the more that I believe that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was alive, the more he blessed us, and he blessed us here in the city of St. Louis. Sometimes, we don't understand a lot of times, but once we get the understanding, that comes a blessing behind that. And I really believe that's how we achieve the mosque, based on our faith and our belief that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was alive, and that Master Fard Muhammad is God, and besides him there is no other in this time, this dispensation. He has been clear. He has been on point. He has never wavered on his position as related to Master Fard Muhammad and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I remember a time when people were saying that, it's time that Minister Farrakhan start calling himself Minister Farrakhan, leader of the Nation of Islam. He has never put that on his shoulder. He always says that he is the national representative of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And the question comes, as it says in the scripture, would a man rob God? Yes, of tithes, and he will rob a man of offerings. What somebody else is offering, you take it and use it as if it's yours. But that's not the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He has always lifted up his Father right now, which is in heaven, all right, and which is on the mother plane. I believe that, brother, and I believe it with all my heart. I hope I answered your question.
No, you definitely did, man. What do you think is one of the most misunderstood things about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, both by those in the nation and even outside the nation?
Well, I just hope and pray, my brother, that people will see him in the proper light as a fulfiller of 25% of scripture. I hope and pray that people see him as the seal of the prophets to carry out the last dimension of the prophesied word that Allah has put in the prophet, to let us know that he is, we are going into really the last days. When you talk about the last days, we are in the last days right now. And he is the one that is standing in these last days, still directing, still guiding us. And we are being just blessed by his presence right now. And this is why I include him in every prayer that I pray, that Allah will continue to bless him and make him successful.
We thank you, Brother Donald, for your time, and we thank you for your testimony. The people are enjoying the testimony, both on Facebook on my page and also on the YouTube. YouTube has temporarily suspended our Mosque YouTube page, but we'll be back up and we'll upload this, and more people have the opportunity to actually see it. And so for those who are watching, we'll make this announcement because we normally have this show at 1 p.m. on every Sunday, but on next Sunday, because of the unique circumstances of our guests, we'll be having it at 8:30, right? Yeah, 8:30. This will be at 8:30. And the reason why we're having it at 8:30, brothers and sisters, is because our brother Russell Simmons is in Bali, Indonesia, right? So that's like a 12-hour difference. It's like a 12-hour difference. And we're having it at 8:30. So he will be able to do this interview, which will be at 10:30 his time, a.m., right? So we want you all to spread the word. By that time, hopefully, our YouTube page will be back up. But if it's not back up, we're still going to continue to keep working. So once again, Brother Donald, thank you for your testimony. Thank you for the history that you shared, because there were things that you shared that I didn't even know. I even thank you, man, for the work that you did in Kansas City to help to get them up and running. All of this is important. Thank you for continuing to being a servant and a helper to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and our nation. And I also want to thank the brothers and sisters who are behind the board who are helping to help us with this show every week. And I want to thank our viewers as well. So we'll get ready to close out. We thank you all for tuning in to I Have a Testimony. Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section and follow us on social media. This is your brother Willie Muhammad with National Network View. Peace.
God came to us to seek and to save that which was lost. He raised a man from among us. He, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, laid the foundation. What I'm doing is something that comes from him through me, and the thing that he uses in me to do the work is my faith in him and the word that he taught, to produce men and women who wanted to clean up their life and build an independent nation for the glory of God.